For decades, the city of Los Angeles has served as the global epicenter of dreams, a place where legends are manufactured and the untouchable elite live in a world that the average person can only imagine. Hollywood was built on the foundation of the Dream Factory, a shimmering facade designed to sell magic to the masses. However, as we move through 2026, that polished image is fracturing in ways that were once unthinkable. The glitz and glamour are being replaced by a much more haunting reality as the public begins to look past the red carpets and into the shadows of the industry. We are currently living through a period of unprecedented skepticism, a great awakening, where the narratives provided by major studios and media conglomerates are no longer accepted at face value. The conversation has shifted from box office numbers to something far more serious: systemic abuse and the exploitation of the vulnerable. The heart of this cultural storm stand two of the most polarizing figures in entertainment history, Mel Gibson and Oprah Winfrey. On one side, you have a man who was once the industry's golden boy, only to be cast out and rebranded as a pariah, yet who now finds himself hailed by millions as a whistleblower. On the other side is a media titan whose name was once synonymous with trust and empathy, but whose legacy is now being re-examined with extreme intensity. The divide between these two individuals represents a larger battle for the truth in Hollywood. As we investigate the claims, the connections, and the controversies, we must ask ourselves if we are witnessing the final collapse of a protected system or the beginning of a new era of radical transparency. To understand why so many people have turned to Mel Gibson as a source of hidden truth, one must look back at his complex history with the Hollywood establishment. In the 1990s, Gibson was arguably the biggest star on the planet. However, a series of personal scandals led to a swift and brutal exile from the Hollywood inner circle, while the industry narrative was that Gibson was canceled due to his own behavior. A growing segment of the public believes there is a deeper reason for his exclusion. They argue that Gibson was silenced because he dared to speak about the cannibalistic nature of the elite. In various interviews, Gibson has alluded to a darker reality within the industry, describing it as a place that exploits the innocent and protects the powerful through a code of silence. This perception of Gibson as a truth-teller reached a new peak with the release of the film Sound of Freedom. Although Gibson did not direct or star in the production, his vocal support was instrumental in bringing the movie to a global audience. The film, which follows the true story of a federal agent rescuing children from trafficking networks, became a massive cultural phenomenon. However, the success of the film was accompanied by a strange resistance from the Hollywood mainstream. Many viewers observed that while the public was flocking to theaters, the official industry voices, major critics, and studio executives remained largely silent. This created a powerful narrative that the movie was being suppressed because it touched on a subject that the elite preferred to keep hidden. The controversy surrounding Sound of Freedom served as a catalyst for a much larger discussion about child safety and institutional responsibility. Supporters of the film argued that if Hollywood was truly an industry of progress, it should have been the first to champion a story about saving children. The perceived lack of support from major platforms fueled the belief that the entertainment industry has a vested interest in ignoring the realities of trafficking. For many, the film's success was a victory for the people over the gatekeepers, proving that the public is hungry for stories that confront the dark side of our world, even when those stories make the powerful uncomfortable. While Mel Gibson represents the outsider, Oprah Winfrey represents the ultimate insider. For over 30 years, Oprah built an empire on being the most trusted woman in America. However, in the age of digital archives, that trust is being tested. The primary source of the recent backlash against Oprah involves the power of association. As the public has become more aware of the crimes committed by figures like Harvey Weinstein and Russell Simmons, they have begun to look closer at photographs of Oprah in their company. Critics argue that a woman with Oprah's level of perception and influence must have known something about the behavior of the men in her immediate social and professional circles. This guilt by association debate is one of the most contentious aspects of modern celebrity culture. Supporters of Oprah argue that it is fundamentally unfair to hold her responsible for the hidden crimes of others, especially given her decades of charitable work and her willingness to discuss difficult topics, like abuse. However, her critics, including high-profile voices like actress Rose McGowan, argue that Oprah's advocacy is performative. They claim that she has spent decades positioning herself as a champion of the vulnerable while simultaneously protecting the systems that allow predators to thrive. This divide highlights a growing public demand for a higher standard of accountability for those who hold the keys to the cultural kingdom. Perhaps the most damaging specific controversy in Oprah's history is the case of João Teixeira de Faria, the Brazilian spiritual leader known as John of God. Oprah featured him on her program multiple times, presenting him to a global audience as a man of miraculous healing power. Years later, he was convicted of horrific crimes involving hundreds of women and girls. While Oprah did eventually remove the content featuring him, the damage was already done. The incident serves as a stark reminder of the Oprah effect, the reality that her endorsement can give a dangerous individual instant and unshakable credibility. Critics argue that this was a catastrophic failure in vetting and reveals a dangerous pattern of prioritizing compelling television over public safety. The scrutiny of Oprah's legacy also extends to her most personal projects, specifically the OprahWinfrey Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa. When the school was first opened, it was hailed as a masterpiece of philanthropy. However, when allegations of misconduct by a dormitory employee surfaced, the dream was marred by scandal. Although Oprah responded with genuine shock and took immediate steps to rectify the situation, the story has taken on a life of its own. In 2026, social media platforms are filled with unverified theories and missing student narratives that continue to cloud the school's reputation. While no official evidence has ever confirmed these extreme claims, the fact that they persist shows how deeply the public's trust has been eroded. The current atmosphere of suspicion is not limited to Oprah or Gibson. It is a systemic issue amplified by recent scandals involving figures like Sean Diddy Combs. As more elite individuals face legal consequences for their private behavior, the public is naturally looking back at everyone who was ever in their orbit. The social media trial has become the new court of law. Digital sleuths are spending thousands of hours analyzing old interviews and guest lists to find connections that were previously ignored. Because Oprah has interviewed almost every major celebrity of the last 4 decades, she is inevitably found in the background of many of these investigations, leading to a guilty until proven innocent environment. This new era of digital investigation is changing the very nature of power in Hollywood. In the past, a celebrity's reputation was managed by a team of publicists and friendly journalists. They controlled what the public saw. Today, that wall of protection has vanished. Every clip, comment, and connection is archived and searchable. The public is no longer waiting for a mainstream news outlet to tell them who the villains are. They are conducting their own research. This shift has created a massive disconnect between the official version of Hollywood and the internet version. While the industry continues to hand out awards, a large portion of the audience is watching with an eye for the hidden link. The debate also touches on real-world horrors, like the kidnapping crisis in South Africa. Advocates have reported a terrifying rise in organized trafficking networks that target vulnerable children. When the public sees these realities, they look for accountability from those with the most influence. They ask why the entertainment industry, with its massive global reach, is not doing more to fight these crimes. They look at the silence regarding films like SoundOfFreedom and see it as a betrayal. This is why the conversation is so volatile. It is not just about celebrities, it is about the safety of children. We must also consider the role of whistleblower culture. As more industry insiders speak out, the public is becoming more receptive to the idea that Hollywood is a place of extremes. They hear stories of manipulation and pressure regarding those who refuse to cooperate with hidden agendas. Whether these stories are told by actors or behind-the-scenes staff, they point toward the same conclusion: that the dream factory has a dark basement. Mel Gibson's older interviews, once dismissed, are now being reevaluated as potential warnings from someone who managed to escape that basement. The intersection of Mel Gibson and Oprah Winfrey in the public consciousness represents a fundamental shift in how we consume media. We are no longer passive viewers. We are active participants in a global investigation into the nature of power. We are looking for heroes who are willing to be outcasts for the sake of the truth, and we are holding our idols to a standard that they may not be able to meet. The era of blind celebrity worship is over. Whether it is through a controversial film or the re-examination of a legendary career, the public is demanding a moral reckoning. In conclusion, the story of Hollywood in 2026 is a house divided. It is a battle between those who want to maintain the status quo and those who want to tear down the curtain. Mel Gibson's return to favor as a symbolic freedom fighter and the intense scrutiny of Oprah Winfrey's insider status are just the beginning. As more victims find their voices and more digital connections are made, the world will continue to watch. The demand for the full truth is a powerful force that even the most influential people cannot stop. Hollywood may have been built on dreams, but it will be rebuilt on accountability. The curtain has been pulled back, and there is no going back to the way things were.